All right, so we're going to continue solving one-step equations. And in this video, we're going to look specifically at the multiplicative property of equality. And we're going to do whole numbers, fractional answers, fractions, decimals, and integers. So we're going to try 4 of the problems out here with different types of numbers. But for each one, we're looking at the multiplicative property. So if you remember from the last video, we were using the additive property. So that means we were adding or subtracting to get the variable by itself. Well, now the multiplicative property says we're either going to multiply or divide to get the variable by itself. And we're always looking for the opposite operation. That's how we get the variable alone. So for solve for x, we have 8 equals 32x. So over here, give you the little steps. We're going to identify what is being multiplied or divided from the variable. So since it's 32x, this means I am multiplying. Whenever you see them smushed together like this, that means multiplication. It means 32 times x. So I'm multiplying 32 by x. So then the inverse operation, that's the opposite operation, to move the 32 to the other side is going to be to divide. 32 on both sides. So I'm going to go divide by 32. Divide by 32. So this, be careful. I do have students look at this and go, oh, 32 divided by 8, that's 4. This is not 32 divided by 8. It's 8 divided by 32. And they do not want a decimal on this one because it's not telling you to do any rounding. Although I think it's not going to necessarily need to be rounded. But just be careful about that. They don't want a decimal on this one. I think they want you to leave it fraction. So 32 divided by 32 is 1. So that would just be x brought down because x is still there. It's 1x. So this one we do want to simplify. 8 can divide by itself 1 time, and 8 can divide by 32 or into 32 4 times. So the answer is 1/4 equals x. And on Alex, it's probably going to say x equals. It's going to have a box like this. That's okay. Even though I have 1/4 equals x, it's the same as x equals 1/4. You can flip the sides of that equal sign perfectly fine. It does not change anything. All right, so the next one here, we have 45 equals 5/3 x. So we're going to identify what's being multiplied or divided from the variable. So we're multiplying. We're kind of doing both, actually, because that's what fraction represents. But we're going to say we're multiplying by 5/3. So we're going to do the opposite operation, which is to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by the reciprocal. So this actually is a little bit different. And when I said we're doing both, so I can actually say we're multiplying and dividing. So we're going to divide and multiply. So we are actually going to do both because I'm multiplying by 5, so I want to divide by 5. And here, I'm going to take this. Whoops. I don't want to. Let's see. Oh, I got to select my eraser over here. So I'm going to take that away. It's going to put a white spot there, but that's all right. Okay, so we're going to multiply by the reciprocal because, like I said, I'm multiplying by 5. The top of the fraction is multiplication. So I want to divide by 5, and the bottom of the fraction is division, so I want to multiply by 3. So we're going to multiply by its reciprocal. So we're dividing and multiplying at the same time. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to multiply by 3 and divide by 5. Because 5 divided by 5 cancels out. 3 divided by 3 cancels out. They cancel out to 1. Any number divided by itself is 1. And on this one, we want to make sure we're paying attention. It's 3 times 45. 45 is on top of the fraction here. And we would have a 1 underneath. Every single number we've ever seen has a 1 underneath it. We just don't write it that way because, if we went around, having fractions on everything like this, it wouldn't look as nice. It would start to look very busy and kind of hard to keep up with. So we tend to reduce that, so it's just 45 instead of 45 over 1. So we go 3 times 45. Let's see, what do we get there? 3 times 45, we get 15, 12, 13. So we get 135. And then we're going to divide that by 5. And I'm going to go ahead and bring the x down here. So we have 135. We're going to divide by 5. So 5 goes into 13 twice. And then we bring the 5 down and the 3. And then 5 goes into 35 27 times. So 27 equals x. All right, so now we have 17.5 equals x divided by 7. So identify what is being multiplied or divided from the variable. So this is going to sound funny, but I'm actually multiplying 1/7 by the variable. So we can rewrite this as 17 times 17.5 equals 1/7 times x, like this, because that's kind of what that means. They just combined it by putting the x on top. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with this fraction. I'm going to divide, well, the opposite operation is to divide. I'll say it that way. But I want to multiply by the reciprocal, because I don't divide by a fraction. I want to multiply by the reciprocal. So whenever it's a fraction, it's I don't know what I was spelling there. Reciprocal. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by 7/1 or just 7, but we can say 7/1 like that. And so I'm going to have 1 cancels with 1, 7 cancels with 7. So x equals, and then I'm going to multiply these together because I just have over 1, so really I don't have to worry about dividing by 1. But I do have to multiply by 7, so I get 35, it's 49, 50, 51, 52, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then you want to make sure that you put your decimal back when you multiply. So it's 1 decimal here, so I'm going to go 1 decimal here. So it's 122.5. All right, so our very last one here. Solve for u, so -28 equals -7u. So we're going to identify what's being multiplied or divided by the variable. So we're multiplying by -7. And our opposite operation is going to be divide. So we're going to divide both sides by -7. So I'm not subtracting 7, I'm taking the negative with the 7 because I don't want to leave it behind, because -7 divided by -7 cancels out, so it's just u left behind. If I didn't bring the negative with it, it would be negative u. The negative would have been left. So now I have -28 divided by -7. 2 negatives are going to make a positive, and 28 divided by 7 is 4. All right, so that was the multiplicative property of equality, and we practiced that with fractions, decimals, and whole numbers. So go ahead and go on, Alex, and give that a try.